Hello friends, a very warm welcome to Coding Techniques. So I am back with another episode of Instagram clone application on the request of Agji Bose. And in this video you have already seen what we are going to build, and it's gonna be a very interesting video. Alright, so stay tuned till the end and you will get a very nice design of this Instagram clone application of the home page. Alright, so let's get started with that. Now, in order to set up first, what we need to do? Well, we need to download our bottom sheet application, because that will be our base project. And for that you have to go to this particular link. Alright, and if you are following my series of Instagram clone application, then you already know what all things are being built. So you must already have that. And if you don't have that, you can download it from here. If you are a new user, simply go out here to this link. I have already shared it in the description. You can get it from there. And then you can download it up and set it up in your system. And if you are already using the Instagram clone application or any other application of Instagram which is made by me, then you can simply copy the src folder which is present out here and replace it in your system, which I have done. And if you have any issues, there are instructions how to set it up in a new project. Alright, so once this is set up, I have already replaced out here, and once this is set up, we are good to go to start with our Instagram part 4, where we will be building the automatic scrolling and playing of videos in our home page of Instagram. So let's get started with that. So we have to design in our home page. So this is somewhat the design which we are going to build. At first, let's start with our header. So this is the header which we are going to build. Let's go for it. Now for that, I'll go to the home page HTML. Now out here, as you can see, I have cleared all the code out here, and we will start it from the beginning. So we'll start with the ion header. Within that, I want to have the ion toolbar, which you might be already having that. And within this ion toolbar, at first we will have an ion title. And out here I'm going to provide the mode to be empty, because I want it to be on the left side, and that is why I'm going to use the empty, because in iOS it will be in the center, which I don't want. And the color for that will be dark, and the title name will be Instagram. Now once that is done, I'll use an ion button. Slot will be end, and within this I'm going to have the ion button, to which I'll give fill equals to clear, and then I'm going to use an ion icon within that, to which I'll pass a slot to icon only, because I just want only the icon, not any text out there, and that is why I'm going to use ion icon only slot, which will make the icon bigger. And then I'm going to use the name, which will be add circle outline. Let's check it out. Alright, so now you can see out here it is showing up, right? But the color of this is the bluish one, which I think will be the primary one by default. So let's change it to color to dark, so that it can take the dark color all the time. I'm checking it in the iPhone, and that is why it takes the primary color. For Android it will take the black color or the default color, whatever it is. Alright, so okay, so once this is done, as you can see, the black color is coming up now. Now after that is done, let's go to our SCSS, and in here what am I going to do? I'm going to access my ion header, ion toolbar, then we will have our ion title, and within that, at first I want the font weight to be bold for my Instagram text, right? And then I'm going to pass a font family also to that, which will be, say, cursive. Well, you can pass any other font family if you want to. And then the last thing that I want to pass is the font size, which will be, let's say, 1.6 rem will be good, I suppose. So these are all the changes that I want to pass out here. Alright, this is coming up now, and this looks exactly the same which we can see in this particular photo. Alright, now it's time to design this whole thing so that we can achieve the same out here. And for that, what am I going to use? Well, let's go to our HTML first, and out here in the ion content, let's design it first. In the ion content, I'll have an ion grid, and within the ion grid I'm going to have an ion row. Now within the ion row, I'll pass an ion column. Now out here I'm going to pass size to be 12, because I want it to take the full size. Alright, and within this, what we are going to have, At first we will have an ion item. Out here I'm going to pass lines to be full, and within this I will have an ion avatar whose slot will be start, and which part I'm building is basically this part. Alright, so this is the part which we are going to build. And before that, let me do one more thing. Let me have an array which will hold all these objects. So let's have that first, and for that I will go to the TypeScript file out here, and in here I'm going to declare an array which will hold this whole object list. Alright, so you can just get it from the source code which I have already shared at the bottom. The link is already there. You can get it from there. Alright, so this is the whole array where we will be having the ID, the logo, then the username, the location, the source for the file, description, and number of likes. So in the source I have passed assets/videos because I am using the local videos. You can use any kind of videos which is an MP4 file. Alright, that will be played within our code as of now. So if you just go to the assets folder out here, I already have this videos folder, and within that I have 3 MP4 files. So we will use that up. Along with that, we will also be using the image post to show it up. So these are the things which I'm going to use out here, and which you can see, I think out here also I'm using the image post also. Fine. So these are all the things which I'm going to use. Let's get started with that in our HTML. So out here at first, what am I going to do? Let me loop it up. For that I'll be using ng4 to my ion row. Let feed of feeds. Fine. Now it's easier for me to pass anything within my ion avatar. I'll be passing an ion img tag, and out here I'll pass the source which will be the dynamic one, and out here let's pass feed ? Dot logo, because if it does not exist, still we don't want any error. Now this is fine. After the ion avatar I will have an ion label. Now in the ion label, what am I going to do? Within that, at first I will have the text, so I'll pass it within the strong tag, and it will be the username. So feed.username, and after that I want a p tag also, where I'll be using the ion text, and within that I'm going to pass the feed.location, so that we can have the location at the bottom of that feed username. Fine, just like we saw in the image. Now after that is done, what is left? Well, on the right side we have an ion button, and in fact you can see the output also which is showing up out here. We have the username and the location. So in the ion button, the slot will be end, and what else do we need to pass? Fill will be clear, and within this again I'm going to have an ion icon. The slot will be icon only because we just want only the icon. I have already explained you up. And the name, it's gonna be ellipsis horizontal. Fine. And the color will be the darker one, which is already defined in our themes variable.scss. You can check it out there. Alright, now you can see this is coming up, right? But there is a lot of padding out here. So for that, what am I going to do? In my ion grid, I'm going to pass a class ion no padding, because there is some default padding present out there which we will remove it. Alright, now you can see there is little more space that is showing up, and we will play a bit more with our SCSS when we do that out. Now at first, let's finish up our design part. Now after this ion item, what am I going to have? I'll have a div in which I'll pass a condition that is the feed is having an image or not. Because if you just check the TypeScript, out here I'm passing image to true whenever I have an image. Alright, so in other cases there is no image property out there. Fine. So that's how we can determine that this is an image or not. So if this is an image, then what am I going to do? Well, I'll simply use style.background image, because this is dynamic, so I have to pass it in this manner. Background image will be equals to URL, and within this URL I'm going to use the feed.src, which will give me the source to that particular image. Fine. Now this is when we have an image. Now if we do not have an image, then what we are going to do? At first, let's check it out how it looks like. Now still you don't see an image because we haven't defined anything out here in our SCSS, the size of it. Let's do that first and then we will proceed further because you want to see how it looks like. Now for that, what am I going to do? Let's access my ion content. Within that I have the ion grid, and in the ion grid let's pass some margin bottom because we have already seen in our Instagram clone app, because whenever we are using the tabs we need little more margin at the bottom so that it won't get hidden. Fine, because as we are using the transparent tabs, semi-transparent tabs, and that is why. Now within that I have the ion row. Now every row I want some margin at the bottom so that it will look pretty nice, right? So margin bottom, let's give it 5 VH will be good. And then I'm going to access the ion column. Now within the ion column, what am I going to do? Let me access my ion item at first. So in the ion item I'm going to use a CSS property called inner padding end, which is a predefined property for that, and I'll make the padding to be 0 and make it important because I don't want the more padding out here to the left side and to the right side. This inner one is for the right side because this is on the slot end, and that is why I don't want a lot of padding at the end part. Fine, that is why I'm doing so. Now once that is done, even I don't want much of a padding at the start also, so I'll just give 5 pixel padding. And now you can just see that the padding on the start side is pretty less, and on the end side also it is very less. That's what I needed. Fine, which is looking pretty good now. After that is done, I'll access my ion avatar. To that also I'll give some margin left to 5 pixel, or I think that is not needed maybe. Let me do one thing instead of that, most probably that will work, that I just increase this part to 10 pixels. I think that will be better. Now I think this is fine. It has an appropriate padding, right? Now after that is done, I'll access my ion label where I'll just pass the font size to be 0.9 rem for the ion label, and for the p tag I'll pass the font size to be little smaller, say 0.85 rem. That's it. Alright, so after applying that we need to access our div. Now in order to access that div I need to pass a class to the div. So let me pass a class called post, which I'm going to access it out here. After the ion item I'll use div of class post, and within that I'll pass a height of 30 VH and make it important, and before that I want to pass the width to be 100% as it can take the full width. Alright, also we need to pass background position to cover, then background position to be, it will be center, not cover. Background size will be cover, and then background repeat. We don't want to repeat the same image again and again, so background repeat, no repeat. Fine. Now we will see the image out here. Let's check it out. There we go. The image is showing up. So we have out here the image for the music app which I have built. The auth screens are present out here. Then we have the food delivery application auth screens, and then we have the plant app design and the e-commerce one too. Fine. And others are the videos for which we will just work on. Fine. So after this div, let's work with our HTML again and pass another div where I'm going to pass a condition that it will show up only when there is no image in the feed object. Fine. So this is the condition which I need to pass, and in fact I'll pass a class also called video size because I want to resize this video, this div and the video that will be played out here. So for that, for playing the video, I'll be using the video tag out here, to which I'll pass an identifier called, let's say, insta video, and this needs to be played in line, so I'll pass plays in line, which is very important in order to play the video properly, and preload will be auto. So these are few attributes which we need to pass so that it will work properly. And one more thing I want to say before going ahead that if you are using Cordova, then in the config, well, I am using the capacitor one, so I don't have anything. In the capacitor, it will play automatically. It is the allow inline playback is set to true by default in capacitor, but for Cordova you have to go to the config.xml, and out here in the preference you have to pass the name and set it to true for allow inline playback, something like that. I'll share it in below. You can just see out there. All right, so that is the only thing that you need to pass if you are using Cordova. Then only it's going to play around when you are auto scrolling it up. Fine, remember that thing. Now let's move ahead. In the video I'll have a source, and within the source what am I going to do? I'll pass the source, which will be the dynamic one, so it will be feed.src, and the type of video which we are going to play is video/mp4. that is played pretty nicely within that. Now if you want to use the YouTube videos, well, there is no direct link to the mp4 out there, that is why we could not use it out here. And if you are thinking that we might be able to use iframe, well, iframe will not work as good as the video tag, because for playing a video in this manner you have to pass a video tag. Now iframe, actually it opens up a new page itself, it is not directly opening up the particular video, and that is why we have to pass the URL out there. So it's recommended that you should use the video one. Now if you have any other HTTP link to that particular video and at the last you have the extension .mp4, then you can simply pass it out here also and play it up in your application. Fine, so that's what I wanted to see. And then this is done. Now let's work on that. So let's work on the designing of it. Say video size. So I'll go to the SCSS again. Let me close everything up. That is not needed. Fine. So in the SCSS, what we need to do with this, so after this post I will have div.video size. Well, I'm accessing just the class and div just to define that it is a div actually. Fine, if you don't pass this div also, then also it's going to work, but for avoiding any kind of confusion I'm just passing it up. Now out here I'll give the width to be 100% and the max height to be, let's say 50 VH will be good. If you pass the height, it's not gonna work properly. Well, it will be pretty small then. Fine, so you can just have them to be taking the maximum height as their own. Now you can see the video is showing up, right? And as of now it is taking the full height, which I don't want. So in order to avoid that up, what I need to do, well, I'll be passing the video tag out here also, so that it can have the same CSS that I'm passing out here for the height and width, so that it will take the same height and width out here also. Alright, now it is taking the actual height that I'm passing up. Alright, now the background, you can see it is white color. I don't want that, because in Instagram we can see that everywhere the background is of the black color by default. So we'll pass the same. I'll pass the background dash variable in the variable iron color dark, and let's save it and just check it out. Alright, now it is looking almost related to the Instagram application, right? Because we have this nice black background and this is running in the center. That's great. Now once that is done, let's go to our HTML again and work with the other stuffs, because it's time to design this part, right? So let's achieve that up, because these things we have already built up. Let's do that quickly. Now in order to do that, I want to tell you one more thing. We have not implemented yet the auto scrolling part. We will work on that. Let's finish up the design first so that we can smoothly work on that. Fine. Now after this div, I'm going to have another ion item. This time lines will be none, and within that I'm going to have the ion button, because we need to have, I think, 3 buttons at the left side. So I'll pass a class to the button calling it icon start. Well, that will define that at the start I need some icons, and I'm going to work on that. The slot will be start and fill will be clear. Alright, now within this I'm going to have the ion icon. Again, the slot will be icon only, which will look pretty nice, making the icon bigger. Name will be heart outline, and I will also pass a color to be dark. Alright, now you can see the heart icon coming up out here. That's great. Now what I'll do, I'll simply copy this up and paste it 1, 2, 3, I think 3 times, right? And I just need to change this heart outline to, second one will be chat bubble, then the third one will be paper plane. That's what we have in our Instagram also. And the fourth one will be bookmark, but it will be on the end part. So slot will be end, fine. Other things will be same. Let's check it out. There we go. It is nicely showing up, but there is one thing that I need to perform out here, that the gapping between these icons is too much. So I need to lessen it up. For that, what I'll do, I'll go to the SCSS and out here within the ion item, after the ion label, let me access this class icon start, and within that I'll pass first of all the margin, because there's a default margin present out here. So let me just give 0 at the top, right side 5 pixel, then bottom and left everywhere 0, 0, 0. Fine. And then I'm going to access the ion icon also. I'll make the font size to be little bigger so that it looks little bigger in size. Fine. Let's check this out now. So now the button, the default margin of the button is changed. Now we have the proper icons out here, which is looking nice, right? Little bigger in size also. So I think this is done. Now once that is done, what is the next thing that we need to apply? We need to work with this likes and the description if you have any. So let's work with that. Now for that, I will have another ion item, because ion item is good for this kind of stuff, very easy to design, right? Again, lines will be none, and I'll pass a class to it so that there is no confusion. Well, the class name has to be details, class details, any name you can pass. And within that, I'm going to access the ion label, where I'm going to pass the strong tag, and within that I will pass the number of likes that you have, and at last likes. Fine. Now I'll pass a condition also out here, that it will only show up when the likes is greater than 0. Alright, otherwise we don't want to show it up. Now once that is done, we will also have a p tag, to which I will again pass another condition. We will this time check feed dot description if it exists, and feed dot description not equals to empty string. So these two conditions I am going to check, and within that I am going to pass the ion text. The color will be dark, and within that we will have this strong tag. Why is that? Because I want to pass the username at first. So feed dot username within this strong tag, and once that is done, then we will have the description. So feed dot description. Alright, that's what I need to do. So once this is showing up, let's design it a bit in our SCSS. So in our SCSS, what am I going to do after this ion item? After these things, I am going to access the ion item of class details, and within that at first I'll pass min height to be 0, and I'll make it important. Then padding start and end, I'll give it a bit more, padding start to be 10 pixels, and I'll make it important. Along with that, padding end also 10 pixels, we'll make it important. Fine, so that we have some padding at the start and at the end, which will look pretty nice. Now once that is done, I will access the ion label and pass margin top to be 0, because we have a lot of margin out here. Alright, if you want to check that out, you can just go out here. Alright, now if you want to check the margin, well, if you just hover on that, you will be able to see. If you click on it and go to the computed, you will see there is no margin as of now, because we have given it 0. Otherwise we already had some margin earlier. So that's how you can just check it out if you want to. Now once that is done, what's next am I going to do? To the p tag, I'll pass margin top to be 3 pixels, so that there is some margin between these two, right? There we go. Now it is looking nice. The next thing, we'll pass ion label p tag a font size of 0.85 rem. That will be better. Alright, so this thing is done. The one more thing I want to do before jumping into the main part of the auto scrolling one is the ion node that I need to pass after the p tag, which will read more, and this will be conditional. The same condition that I have passed out here, I'm going to pass the same condition. It will show up only when we have the description. Now why I'm doing so? Because, well, if we have a longer text, then you can simply view it all and then minimize it up as you like. So for that, once that condition is passed, there will be a more button out here. Let's check it out first. Fine, you can see a small more button out here. Now how to work with that? Let me show you. To the p tag, at first I need to pass a class which will have the dynamic property kind of stuff, which can be changed dynamically, basically based on the feed $.wrap property, which we do not have actually, but I will work with that. So if it is true, then we will have something. If it is not true, then we have something else. If it is not true, by default we have the ion text no wrap, so we won't see the whole text, it will be triple dot. Fine. And if it is true, then we will just wrap everything up so that we can see all the text. So this is the class which we need to pass. And how I'm going to work with that? Well, I'll pass a click event to this more ion node, and to that I'll pass a function toggle wrap, within which I'll pass simply the feed. Fine. And the last thing that I want to access out here before we jump into the functionality, that if this wrap exists, well, let me make it a string, and I'm going to check the same condition. If there is a wrap, then I'll pass something, otherwise I'll pass more, and if there is a wrap, I'll pass less. That's what I want to do out here. Fine. And let's go to our TypeScript to work with that particular function. Toggle wrap, feed will be passed, and out here I'll simply do feed.wrap will be equals to not of feed.wrap. Simply toggle it up, that's it. Fine. Alright, now let's check it out. If I click on this more button, what happens? You can see the whole text, right? If I scroll up and click on this less one, again this is getting no text, is no wrap, right? So this is nicely working. Now the next thing that we need to work with is our auto scrolling part, right? So because the other things all we have already achieved, correct? Now at first, well, let me just make it in this manner so that it will look nicer, otherwise it is too big. And if you don't want to pass it in this manner, you can simply have a JSON file, and out there you can simply make a JSON form, make it into a JSON format and directly call it out here. Fine. Now out here I have to access that insta video, because in our HTML to the video we have passed insta video identifier. We need to access that about here. So out here I'll be using view children this time, because we have multiple videos, because it is a loop, right? And out here I'll be passing this insta video and name it as videos, any name you can pass, and this will be a query list, so import it up, and then of type any. Now once that is done, what we need to do with that? Well, at first we need to check whether that video is in the viewport or not. That is the first thing that we need to check, right? Whenever we are scrolling. So for that, if you just search it on this Stack Overflow, you will get it. Well, I'll do it out here. Is element in viewport, and within that we have the element is passed, right? And within this function I'll simply paste this code. You will get it in Stack Overflow if you want to just go through it. Alright, now this will basically check if our video is in the viewport or not. Basically when we are viewing it up, it is properly visible, right? It is taking the full view, then only it will play it up automatically. Fine, that is the thing that we are going to check out here in this function. Now before going ahead, what else do I need to do in our HTML? At first we need to pass few attributes to our ion content. One of them is scroll events, and I'll make it to true. And there is an output property also called ion scroll, to which I'll pass a function did scroll, which will show us that there is a scrolling event that is triggering up. Fine, and we will have some event out here. If you don't want to access it up, you can just simply leave it up if you want to. Now I'll access this function, this scroll, and if you want to check the event, you can just check it up. We are not going to work with that event as of now, but let's check it out if something is getting triggered or not whenever we are scrolling it up. Alright, I will open this up, the console, fine, and let's try to scroll. Now you can see the event is getting triggered and we have a lot of things out here, fine. So this is working. Now let's work on the functionality out here. So at first I'll declare a property out here called, let me do it out here, that will be better, now playing. So which is the current video that is playing. I'll set it to null by default. Alright, and then we are going to work with this in our did scroll function. So out here at first I'm going to check if this dot now playing, that means the video is playing, and this dot is element in viewport. We will check that also, because that video, if it is in the viewport and it is playing, then we will simply return nothing. Alright, but in other condition, if it is playing and it is not in the viewport, which I'll check in this manner. Alright, in that scenario, what we are going to do, I'll simply pause this video using this directly. We can do that up, pause function, and set my now playing to null. Alright, now this video is holding all our videos. Alright, so how we can work with that? Well, this dot videos, we will work on a for each loop out here, and within the for each we have the player which will be working out here. Alright, now within this we can even simply console the player if you want to just check it out, what is the value of it, fine, whenever we are scrolling. And let me pass something out here which will determine that we have been working on something, and we can get the exact value of player. Fine, this is just an identifier. You already know that up. Let's open our console. Alright, now here if I scroll it up, now you can see this player is coming up and we have the native element in here which have the video. So let's work on that now. So now what I'll do, I'll simply at first check out here also if this dot now playing, if it is true, that means there is some value in that, then I'll simply return, because I don't want to perform any action when this is now playing is existing and it is in the viewport. We just want it to run. But if there is nothing in the viewport, or we are scrolling it up and I want to play another video which is in the viewport, then what we are going to do? Well, at first I'll create a constant called native element, because we have seen out there we have the native element within our player dot native element. That's how we can access that up. And once that is accessed, we will also check if it is in view, so that we can check by accessing this function. I'll simply pass native element out here. Fine, this looks pretty nice. The code is pretty clean as of now. Now I'll check in view if there is any value in that. Then what we are going to do, then we need to simply play the video which is in view, right? For that, this dot now playing will be equals to the native element, fine, and simply we can pass this dot now playing dot play function. Alright, now there is one more thing I want to show you, but let's run this up and then I'll show you what I'm trying to do. One more last thing. Alright, so this is our first video. Now this will not play because we haven't triggered the scroll event. Now let me trigger the scroll event and let's go to the third one. Now you can see this is playing and the sound is also coming up, fine. Even out here also we can see the sound, and as soon as it is not in the viewport, it is paused. So this is working, but there is one issue that we will face. I'll show you just now. Let me try to work with that. Whenever we are opening the page and if there is a video in the viewport, we need to run that up, and for that what am I going to do? I'll simply use this scroll event. Let me just make it conditional, optional actually. Alright, and out here in the ng on init, if I'm trying to pass this function, well, it will return me an error. Let me just show you. Alright, if I pass this function out here, because we have the same functionality, right? So if I pass it out here, let's see what happens. Now this is not running, correct? Now out here you can see we have the error in our for each. So in order to work with that, what I'll do, I'll not pass this function out here. Instead of this, I will use it in our ng after view init, and out here I'm simply going to pass it up. Fine, let's check it this time. Now this function is getting called after the view is properly set, and we don't have to implement anything. We don't have to pass it anything out here. Earlier we need to pass after view init, but I think in the on init only they have appended it up, this function. Fine, so we can directly use it up. All right, now let's go to home again, and you see this is working, right? Now if I scroll down, this is also working, but we just came from the home page, sorry, the profile page, right? If I just reload it up, now you see once I reloaded it up, well, this is giving me an error that play function failed because with the document first. So why this is happening? Because there is a thing that the Chrome basically is passing, and it is recommended that we should mute this video to play it up at first. So you can do it in the video also directly in the HTML, but that doesn't work. I have tried it out, so that is not working. So what we need to do, we need to simply pass it out here, this dot now playing dot muted, and we need to set it to true. Now once I do that up, and if it get reload, it will work. Just check it now. Alright, now you can see this is running correct, and we do not have any error out here, right? So only if it is muted, then only it's going to work. Now if I scroll down, and this is in view, as soon as it comes into the view, you can see this is running, right? And if I just scroll down a bit, now there is another video. Let me just move it ahead, upward. Let me stop out here, and as you see, this is running and this is stopped or paused, I would say, right? So this is how this is working. You can play around with the muted one if you like. You can have a button out here. If you click on that, it will get unmute as you like. If you can click on this particular video also, you can do that same thing. Fine, I'll leave it to you how you want to work with that. So this is the whole thing that is working out here. So the auto scrolling is working, and the video is getting paused and play whenever it is in the view. So that is what we wanted to achieve, and we have achieved the same, which is working pretty nice, and the design is also pretty awesome, I would say. Alright, so with this we have successfully implemented our Instagram home page. We have successfully designed it up, and the auto scrolling of the videos is working as good as the original one, I suppose, right? So this is the whole thing that needs to be done, and you can watch it pretty easily. Even you can have this full screen event also getting triggered. You can have a button, and you can work on the TypeScript with that to show it in the full screen, and you can do many tasks out here if you want to. So if you really like this video, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for such interesting videos which will be coming in near future, right? So with this, I'll wrap up this video here. Thank you very much. See you guys really soon. Thank you.